Okay, great. Okay, my voice is clear. Great. Okay. So just look at the previous slide. Now we try to come back and try to analyze from four P's. Okay. Enterprise does not work in isolation. So let us see. So when you think of the, say, always, from now to the next two classes, you must wear the hat, you're enterprise architect, you are given the baton to change, to transform it to the future of the hospital, like e-health, or like the customer can able to see what all the things from a browser with a self-service. Okay, let us see what is the core enterprise. So what is core enterprise according to TOGAF is those are most affected. So if you think of a hospital, what is the core enterprise in a hospital? What is the core enterprise in a hospital? Just think of what you feel. See, the moment you think of a hospital, say I want to make it more interactive. Already I showed you, right? See, one of the main thing is how they're going to register this one patient, how the patient is recorded. Yes, the core enterprise. Yes, the patient and the staff, they all constitutes part of the enterprise. But again, for the health industry, your health workers, patients, so all come under the umbrella. So the core enterprise consists of how the patients are managed, how the patients are admitted, how the doctors are able to look the patients. So they all comes under the core enterprise. So if you think, I saw some of you are coming from banking sector. The moment in the banking we call core banking, then we got something called supporting applications. Similarly, in enterprise, when you think of core enterprise as a health industry, the main thing comes into the mind is yes, is a patient, is a doctor. At the same time, to manage all this, we need systems. That's where EA comes into play. So in health record, we call it EMR. So the core enterprise is the patient registration, or the patient treatment, or the patient discharge. All that are affected, or the supply chain, because especially in health industry, got so much of supply chains involved. So all comes under the umbrella of core enterprise. Let us look at soft enterprise. Those who will see the change to the capability and work with core units but are otherwise not directly affected. Say, in a health industry, think of a health industry. If a patient admission and discharge, if he's not able to use a software or some kind of a system, it becomes a chaos, especially with COVID of a kind of a thing where patients are rushing to a hospital. The system must be in place. Think of next system. If a finance application is not working, it's okay. We can treat the patient. So the soft enterprise can be in this context. It depends on the context always. The soft enterprise can be a finance application. Are you all with me? You're getting the concept? Guys, passing a TOGAF exam is simple, I'm telling you. But only thing is you must get the concept. Once you get the mindset, you're there. My main idea is to get the mindset. So now we got the core enterprise, the patient registration, the patient admission, discharge, the doctor's appointment, all comes under the core enterprise. And the soft enterprise is the one which will be affected, but not so much. Without that, the cleaning department, yes, it is very essential, but without that, you can manage. Okay. Then let us look at the extended enterprise. So what comes under your mind for the extended enterprise? Look at the four P's. Look at the four P's, please. What comes? So example, your payer, your policy maker. So that's all extended enterprise. Your partners, your drugs, what is that? A medication supplier, or some kind of what do you call necessity things you're going to buy. They're all extended enterprise. They need to coexist, but without that you can survive. So example, what happened with across the world now. So people are flying left and right. Now every country closed the borders. So what happened is still they're continuing. So what I meant to say, that is extended enterprise. It is good to have, but without that you can survive. Okay, you all guys with me? Okay, now what is the communities involved? Those stakeholders will be affected and who are in the groups of communities. What comes onto your mind? communities. Think of the health sector, you have some kind of rehabilitation, you some communities like a mental health. You have so much of communities, like a Red Cross. These are the communities. From the perspective of health, you got some user group, some patient, like some kind of like some running clubs or some anything in the health industry. The work as a community. Aged care, yeah, that's also one of the community. Yes, because aged care is people can stay way back. If you think like 30, 40 years back, people are staying in the home. The kids were taking care, but nowadays it's taken care. Yeah, catering. Yeah, very good thing. Catering. Yeah. So now you're coming. See, please think. You wear a hat and try this. Get this concept. You get this P concept. You get 4 marks. Okay. Now the important thing. What is the governance involved? Think of the governance. Say I told you the policy maker. So policy maker is the one who is making the governance, right? Because when you got the government medical record, the government will say, how the patient must be treated, what kind of process need to be followed, even what kind of medication can be given. The same medication what you give in India or in US or in Australia can vary. They got some regulatory requirements. You got the concept where the governance comes into play. You got it? Okay. Core enterprise, soft enterprise. The moment enterprise has got 5 things in, according to TOGAF. See, guys, please remember there are more than 161 frameworks in the market. But the only thing is, if you want to become a TOGAF certified, if you want to get under the umbrella of TOGAF, you must see what it is there because of the vocabulary of the language. Okay. Again, for your information, did you guys had a chance to attend the open group conference? Anyone attended? Okay, it was very good. One of the key thing what happened is like when I took TOGAF certification in 2013, I was less than 10,000. But today, as last week on Wednesday, it was 99,000. So in 7 years, it has multiplied by almost 7 times, 9 times, sorry. Okay, now let us look at the governance and support framework. So as I told you earlier, what happens in enterprises, it works. See, just I want to reiterate. Generally, in a company, sometimes some companies are only project based, and especially nowadays, some of the banks before they had 90-10 rule. 90-10 rule means 90 is all in house, 10 they outsource. Then the rules change. Now they got 10-90. 10-90 means 10 is in house, 90% they outsource. That's what's happening. So some of the Indian companies, they got some of the major banks, they got thousands of employees working from offshore. So said that what you're going to do is the actual governance. So what it does is it depends on the type of the company, how they're operating on that model is going to assist you. So what kind of governance is expected? Then, as I told you earlier, what architecture does is it does a lot of documentation. When you're doing the documentation, you're going to look at the standards. What standards are there? What guidelines? What kind of compliance you need to do? So all this you need to document it. Then, one of the main thing is the governance is again the existing practice a company is having, as I told you earlier. And again, what kind of models they're having for organized support. You need to relook at it. Because suddenly, like companies, why I put a question for you to ask. See, the reason is, one of the main thing, many people don't change what they're doing. Once they're comfortable with the process, they follow the same process. When you try to retrofit with a new thing, you must try to see how it can be optimized. Again, change is though it's a constant, it must be done in a very organized way. Okay, next, supporters, sponsors, and stakeholders for architecture need to be consulted. So one of the key thing, initially EA practice cannot be initiated by PM office or project man or operations team. EA must be done from a C-level executive, might be like a CIO or CEO or CFO. So said that Your sponsor must be very strong because you're changing an environment. Just think in your mind. How many of you are from Sydney here? From Sydney, how many of you are from Sydney? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, some of you are not from Sydney. Just for information, Sydney went for a major transformation. They put in a light rail in the middle of a CBD. So it must come from the government top level executive to initiate that. If somebody does in a town council anything, nobody even bothers that. Because what happened? The whole CBD was closed for almost 1.5 years. So same thing will happen in enterprise architecture practice. When you bring in enterprise architecture, the whole culture, how they operate, everything will be changed. So when that's going to change, whatever the changes you do, it must be approved by the sponsor. Again, the sponsor will not try to approve himself. They'll be having a board meeting. They have a consultation. That's why what enterprise architect does is it brings transparency. It's not like olden days. I saw a fancy stuff somewhere, shiny stuff. I tried to bring into the company. No. Last class I told you, all this time the enterprise architecture practice for somebody like a Bunnings, like a large family, head of the family likes something, he brings in. Anybody more powerful, they just go on bringing. So then afterwards they centralize. Same things happening in the enterprise now. Then architecture touch points and likely impact should be understood. In this sense, same. As I told you, all the other frameworks, what are existing in enterprise, if in your ADM cycle, you need to see where is going to be affected, where some of the output you're going to consume, might be for the business architecture. Sometimes some of your output from the application technology can go to some other project or some other processes. Okay. So again, please remember, ADM cycle is nothing but every phase has got an input and an output. Such said that it has got a matrix to measure. Okay. Then let us go to the next slide now. All of you are okay till now? Good. If I don't receive any message, all is good. Okay. Now let us understand what is principles. Principles has got so many variations, but let us see from the perspective of TOGAF. It just gives you like a general rules and guidelines. Generally in the exam, you'll be having a question. Principle dash, intended to be enduring and seldom amended. So then you must see, okay, general rules and guidelines. They'll be giving you like 4 choice. So you must see which is the best choice out of it. Okay, so principles are general rules. It's a general and guidelines, that's all. It's not a mandate. So you must try to understand guidelines and policy are two different things. Policy means it must be done. Okay, I got a question from here. Ashok is asking, does EA need to have product knowledge in depth? No, Ashok. See, the very good question. Does EA practitioner need to have a product knowledge in depth? No. He must be just having an overall view. Okay, how many of you have seen Gartner's analysis of analysis of any kind of a system, like it can be applications, technology, anything? Yeah. So generally, what companies do, they got a lot of reports from like IDC or Forrester or Gartner. So what they do is generally they take that one, they make the comparison analysis. So as an architect, you need to have just a high level view. At least you must know what is the capability. So you got a IA, or what can artificial IA can do for a company. Or now quantum computer is coming. So how it can able to complement a company? You must be having just a high level knowledge. It's good. Guys, please feel to ask any questions. Quadrant. Yes. In the quadrant, it says like what quadrant a product is there. And again, depending on again, as I told you, like a CMMI, it's in the quadrant 1, the pricing, the cost will be different. So based on that, your price will vary. Okay, guys. So now coming back here, it gives you general guidelines, rules and guidelines. Okay, so what kind, again, ultimately, please look at here. Okay, before I go here, how many of you know your company's vision and vision? Have you come across that? Your company's vision and vision. Sorry, my throat is getting dry. I'm drinking some hot water. Have you come across? See, one of the main problem, what's happening is good. I could see Ravi has come across. That's very good. Why I'm asking this question, one of the key things for EA practice to be successful, at least the enterprise architects involved, they must be knowing what is the vision of the company. Personally, I come across some of the architects, they'll be not knowing at all. So if you don't know that, you'll be just blindly doing things in a blind way. Okay, so moving forward, see, look at this statement. Support the way in which an organization set about fulfilling its mission. See, an EA practitioner is there to realize the company's vision. See, vision is a something futuristic. We don't have the control over that. It's something very good to have. But vision is the one for the company's survival. So an EA practice is nothing but, as I told you, you have like an arch, business and application. The business is nothing but they have a mission. Enterprise got a mission. That is where you are. Okay. Principles has got two types based on TOGAF. One is enterprise principles and architecture principles. See, why enterprise principles is for fulfilling the enterprise mission across how the enterprise mission can be done. So generally, this one will not be done by architects. You may advise, but generally, this will be done by the C-level executives. Of course, you'll watch it. Okay. Highly unpredictable. Yes, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Now, architecture principles. So, what are the architecture principles? That's where we play a major role. So, what it tells is going to tell us like how we can able to give some kind of a principle is going to assist for decision making for an architect or for any kind of a technical team. They can be from project management perspective, operation perspective, or they can be any part of the we call the ICT team. Okay. So generally what happens is this is the high level, but as you go across in the architecture, already must come to your mind by this time. In the architecture principles, you have got the core domain, business, application, data. For all that, there are principles. There are roughly about some 40 plus principles in TOGAF. Again, TOGAF has just given the principles. For your information, the principle is there from late 90s, still there. In fact, I wrote a paper on what the effective number of principles. You can go and take a look at my LinkedIn. There's a number of principles I exactly defined. The reason why, because sometimes I was hired for a project. I did about some 54 principles. And to be honest, nobody sees that. I was forced to do. So what happens, generally in a company, if you got more than 10 to 12, 15 principles, nobody will observe. How many of you are certified in Agile here? Agile, Prince2. Prince2 has got only 7 principles. Agile has got only about 12 principles. Less the principles people will follow. Okay, let us first understand what are the principles. Okay, what principle does is, it gives like a rules and guidelines. Okay, because it gives like a reference across the enterprise, because we cannot be there forever. That's good. My came with 7 principles. Then, please, one of the key thing, you cannot amend. See, okay, 2 things I want to say. Generally, companies were having a strategy, like a roadmap set for 2-3 years or 5 years. But someone come and ask me, is it possible now? No, it's not possible. Think of the COVID. See, all the strategies, whatever the company did for the digital transformation must be revisited. So said that, similarly, any kind of a principles you define, it is subjective, again, depending on how aggressive the company is. If a company is very slow paced, going in its own speed time, yes, the principles will be valid for next 5-10 years. The company is very aggressive, the principles will be revisited. That must go into the mind. See, please, TOGAF has not given everything in cast iron. You must follow one-to-one. Something is, we must, as we practice in the industry, we know what is good, what is bad, and we must take the best of it. Okay. Then, principles, then definitely know if an architect goes and defines the principles, nobody will follow. You define the principles and get approved from the management team. Okay. Yes, definitely referred across the enterprise. Now let us see what are the principles. Okay, TOGAF has given a template. Again, please, what I'm trying to do, some of my experience I can bring in, while explaining the concept, I'm bringing in my experience. But while giving the concept, I'm trying to exactly give what is TOGAF saying, because TOGAF is the Bible for you to pass the exam. That is the intention. Okay. TOGAF has given the name. So the name must represent the essence of the rules. What? At least it must be easy to remember. Example I've given here. Information management is everybody's business. Okay. Then statement. It must be able to communicate at least a fundamental rule, what is trying to convey. Sometimes, I come across some enterprises, they have some principles, it does not make sense. What does the name indicate? At least it must be able to give some kind of a meaningful name. It must be having a rational. It must entice. Why I'm using this one? What is the reason behind that? And implication. Implication means what is the benefit or disbenefit it is to be stated. But again, I have given this is my experience. So generally, I give the implication as if you don't use, what is the penalty? So how will be implicated? Then people will start using it. See, many times we have put principles, but unless until you govern it, nobody follows them. Okay, just curious. I saw some of you are coming from the programming background. Do you follow the design principles? Any design principles do you follow? Rarely, right? Sometimes it is because so much is coming in the market, unless it's deemed necessary, we don't do. It is changing such a rapid pace. Yeah. It's good if you're following it. I appreciate that. So it must be enforced. That's the important thing. Okay. Now let us say I just finished sorry. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. I press some button, something goes up. Okay. Okay. Say now I just finished the P phase from the exam perspective, what is needed. So let me go for the A phase now. Okay, I'll be talking about what is the output of the document in the next class. So I did not want to go in depth of it. Next class, I just show the document, how it looks. Okay, I just got a message here. Okay, you guys can see my screen? Yes, you can see my screen. Okay, I got a question here. Mike, I did not understand why you're UML. UML is one of the modeling language we generally use for modeling the software architecture. And I'll be showing you Archimate. Might be time permits I may show today, or might be I show in the next class. Okay. In the A phase, in the P phase, we set up an enterprise architecture practice. Again, mainly we looked at what the current capability the company is having. That is by making maturity assessment. And what is the capability they need to have? Might be on the target, might be like 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. Okay. Then again, we're going to define what kind of a org structure they need to have. Then what kind of principles they need to have. Then again, we're going to define what kind of methodologies they need to have. So we're going to customize the framework in P phase. Just get into the mind. I'll be repeating a little bit as I go across, it becomes much more clearer. So one thing must get into the mind. In the P phase, our main objective is to set up a EA practice. So now the question is for you. So who can set up a EA practice? Okay, do you guys got a EA practice in your company? Do you have? Okay, so who'd set up the EA practice? You have any idea? Just think of it. What do you think? So now you have been given an assignment. Set up a EA practice. Yes, I got a question, not to seen in many. Okay, I tell you my experience. So generally what happens is the EA practice, what happens, a C-level executive will initiate. The assign might be on key stakeholder. The key stakeholder will engage an external company. Last year, Australia spent about $5 billion on consulting companies to put strategies and all. So that's where they go, like Boston Consulting or Gartner or like IDC or Accenture, IBM. They go and set up the practice. When they set up the practice, generally how it operates is they come to a company, they call it capacity building. They come into an organization, understand the whole thing, the culture. Then based on that, they set up a EA practice. Then they identify key stakeholders, like the org structure for the new enterprise. For them, they'll be trained for some time. And somebody from the consulting company will be handhold them for months or years, depending on the type of the company. Then internally, they build the capacity for the company, hence they'll take off. Do you know why? Can someone tell me why the reason it is? Okay, I give you some small example. One customer we hired to build a practice. We went in the capacity building. First, we set up for the management team. We set up what is EA in a high level. So they really thought, okay, this is a way to go. Then they gave us some X amount of staff. So we trained them from all aspects, from business, application, data, various teams we did. Then afterwards, we told, can we start the project? Then the CIO told, no, sorry, we're not giving you the project. We told, why? They told, because already you told us, so we got our own people. They're going to start, we don't want to spend money on you. Then afterwards, we are shocked. Then afterwards, we realized what to do. Then suddenly, we got a concept. Then we told them, okay, uh, I showed them a bike. Can you ride this? Yeah, no problem. My son can ride it. Then I showed them a car. Can you ride this? Yeah, I need a little bit of practice. Then we showed them a Boeing. Hey, can you ride this? Can you fly this? See, even if you give you a manual, if you simulate, even if you free to take away means nobody can do that one. EA is something like this, very complicated. Initially, you need some kind of a handhold. So once the handhold is there, that's where the P comes into play. Once the handhold is there, one or two ADM cycles, you work together, then afterwards the company can start by itself. So always remember, generally EA starts with the external consultancy company together with the internal company, and slowly EA capability must be built within the company. Okay, now let us come to the next phase, the vision phase. In the vision phase, I'm just showing you the high level aspirational vision. Let me see what is the aspirational vision. Look at this. This is digital health. In the digital health, what we want to do is we want to be able to access, make a registration. Okay, just curious, how many of you are able to make an appointment to a hospital from your home? Is it possible or no? Uh, I mean, the general, not a polyclinic, for a general hospital. For a general hospital, is it possible? Okay, not even a public, sorry, not even like a private clinic, like a private nursing homes. Okay, self-service still is happening. Only for GPs, yes, they come through. So, because I was working on the project just before last year, they are doing some self-service and all, but still there is some, a lot of things to happen behind. So, said that this is a vision, like aspirational vision. So, I told you in P phase we set up the year practice. Why we set up a year practice? Because we want to go for some kind of a telehealth or some kind of self-management, like a future of the health we want to have. So said that, just have a look. Again, I connected with the payer, policymaker and all in a high level. Look back to the A phase. I told you A phase is the one which is going to run the ADM cycle. This is where the real project starts. This is where the real budget comes. Okay, now, it's very good at what this. When we talk about P phase, okay, some of you are from project management. So said that there's a budget. The first budget we're going to get in the P phase is to set up a practice. So that budget is gone. The next phase we're going to get is to start the initiative from EA perspective. So that budget will be different. See, large projects, what you do is just to write a business case, there'll be a budget. Once the business case is done, might be even sometimes you want to do a market scan. What are the products available? There'll be a budget for that. So everything is a cost factor, right? Because humans are required, people are required. Similarly, for EA practice, you have a budget for P phase, that is done. Now the A phase comes into play. Once you got the A phase, what are you going to do? First of all, develop a high level aspirational vision of the capabilities and business value. Okay, how many of you come across capabilities term in your career, in your workspace, in your workplace? That's good. Just type in. Just type in what is your understanding of capability. Just be very pragmatic. What is the understanding of a capability? Okay, so I'll be talking is actually because I want to give you the concept of not only passing the exam, So one of my main concept is you must really not only pass the exam, you must be able to at least start able to apply it or something. Say enterprise architecture, I showed you in the last class. One of the key thing is we got all the components, the TOGAF, the ADM, yeah, the one is the concepts, the ADM. Then you have the this one. What is that? Guidelines. Then you have this enterprise continuum. Then finally you got the architectural capability. So what the capability does is any kind of an activity can able to perform. So what is my capability? I'm a EA practitioner. That's my capability. I'm doing some kind of a workshop. That's the capability. So generally, if you think of a company, they have some capability. What is the capability? In the health industry, the capability is to treat a patient, or might be to make some kind of external. If a bank, the capability is to service a customer. So capability is an ability to do a thing. So similarly, in health, you have some kind of a capability. Let me show you one document so it will become more clear. So first of all, let us see a high-level aspirational vision of the capabilities and business value. So what is the business value running this ADM cycle? Then, the moment I told you A phase works as a project, the moment you got a project, what comes into your mind? What is within this ADM cycle or what is outside the ADM cycle? Okay, as I'm telling you, looking at the ADM cycle here, what do you feel from your angle, the ADM cycle? Look at the TOGAF ADM here. Looking at this cycle, where does the ADM comes into play? Where does the ADM start? Where does it end? Okay, what we do is when you start the ADM cycle, you start from A in a high level, generally ends at E sometimes, or sometimes it ends at G, sorry, at F sometimes at G. G is the implementation. So when you do a high level ADM cycle, it goes from A to F in a very high level. So said that when I talk about the ADM cycle, I'm going to have the scope from A to F. It must go into your mind now. A is you're going to define a project. B, C, D, you're going to define the architecture, what is needed. And E, you're going to select a product and select number of products, get the approval. Whatever the product approval, F is the phase which gets confirmed and you write a project plan how to be implemented. So based on that, if there's already a budget is there, it may start implementation. Otherwise, like writing a business case. So you finish here, then they may call for a tender. There might be a different cycle to implementation. So said that an ADM cycle starts from A and ends at F. Okay. So for this you're planning. So on that aspect, you're going to define what is in the scope, what is outside the scope. Think of the hospital, what you're building. So not the hospital, the capability. Then next, guys, all here with me. Any doubt? You're all with me? Okay. No worries. You'll be getting clear. I'll be reinforcing the concepts. Then look at the constraints. So what are the constraints? See, one of the key thing, see, companies will go and just get a vendor. I want this vendor. I'm going to buy this product. Now you put the principles. Anything cloud first or anything, it must follow the touch points. What is applicable? Then the business goals must be met. And always you cannot just buy what you want. Go and connect back to the strategic drivers. Why are we doing this one? So I told you, EA does not work in isolation. It works from the EA from the organization perspective. So on that basis, you're going to everything. The constraints is nothing but what limits you. It can be in the cost of the project. It can be some kind of a guidelines. It can be some kind of a regulatory requirement. So always you're going to look at the constraints. Then based on that, you're going to come out with a high level vision document. Okay, I'll be talking about in the P phase, as I told you last class, TOGAF is a methodology, is a framework and a methodology. So said that in the P phase, it has got some input, and in the P phase, end of the P phase, you're going to produce a document. We call as raw document, request for architectural work is called. Then the request for architectural work is the input for the A phase. From the A phase, that document will be further refined rather. So once it is refined, what happens is you're going to come up with a document called statement of architectural work. So in the A phase, the output of A phase is statement of architectural work. This will be, it goes all the way till F before it gets finalized. For the time being, just remember, P phase is a raw document. In the exam, there will be a question. The output of P phase is dash. They put raw saw, they put some document name. So how to remember that raw? I always remember this raw document is like a raw wood. So A is saw. It's completely sawed exactly we want. It's a sawed wood. So statement of architectural work. So you get a statement of architectural work is the output. Again, in the vision document, what we'll be having is, okay, now let me give you a new concept today. How many of you know what is the gap analysis here? Have you come across gap analysis? That's good. Yes, good, great. Okay, so gap analysis is nothing but like you have like a reference and you have the next reference. Between the two references, what is the gap? So example like, okay, we take example of yourself. You want to become an enterprise architect. What is the gap? You're not missing that one. You know what is enterprise architecture you're doing in your day to day. But only thing is you're missing from the perspective of TOGAF framework. So that's the gap. That's what you're trying to learn here. So similarly in a company, when you think of the gap from our perspective of going for a digital health, or might be like able to make an online appointment, you will be having a telehealth kind of a capability. What is the gap? You're going to look at the current systems, what they're having from the business perspective, application technology. And again, the target you want to achieve, what is the gap? Okay. I'll be coming in much more detail, might be in the next class. When we do the ADM cycle, the first phase we go for a strategic view. Then the next one we go for segmental, what can be implemented. Then we go for project, means like what projects is initiated. Because especially when you start the EA practice, it's not possible to go at one time. What always I say EA practice is, especially for a Ministry of Health or like New South Wales government or might be some kind of a country like India or Philippines, is something a flight is already flying and you're changing the engines, updating some of the interiors on the flight where it's flying. It's not like it is standing and you got the luxury, because the enterprise cannot be stopped. That is the way you must think. Okay, now let me give you, so this is the one. Let me show you a document. How does a capability looks like? This document was done by me. It was done about 3 years back. Can you see my screen now? Okay, let me share the screen back. I show you the screen, you get an idea what I'm talking. Proposed health capability, yes. Can you see my screen? Okay, just bear with me. Okay, so what this is showing is, again, the same concept of four pieces I have taken. I'll just blah, blah, I'll not go for that one. I just want to show the capability. See, capability is a generic term. So that one, it depends on the context what you're applying. Say I'm applying for the business capability, health capability, digital capability. Okay. This is actually document, guys. The document worth probably about 15K. It was a 2 weeks work, about 20K approval here, there, and all. So nested digital capability. Again, the 4 piece, what I showed you. So an EA practitioner, this is what you'll be doing on a day-to-day role if you become an EA practitioner. Again, we got some business capability. So I told you, right, who gives some of the key concepts? So everything is, nowadays we call as customer centric, but in case of a health is patient centric or person centric. Again, health, is not You'll become a patient, will go for it. Especially like WHO kind of an organization, they look as a family. You must be healthy, you'll become sick, all it takes into consideration. So when you especially when you become an enterprise architect, when you're doing an architecture, you'll not be doing in isolation. You'll be literally working with looking at the external things, what's happening in the industry, what are the other frameworks. See, one of the key things as an enterprise architect, we don't reinvent the wheel. We try to take the best practices, then try to assemble it together. Okay. So you just got a concept, right? I just want to show this concept for you. So key capabilities we addressed. Patient centric. Okay. Okay, this is the one I want to show you. So again, I'll come in the next class. So just get an idea. So how it works is, first of all, we define the capability. So once we define the capability, what we do is, then we try to understand, okay, how this capability can be implemented. See, one thing from the discussion you must be observing from the afternoon, from the beginning of the class. I'm not talking about technology at all. I'm just talking about what is the framework they're using, what process they're using, what kind of org structure you need, what kind of governance we need. Again, what kind of capability we need. I'm just talking in that terminology. That is what is required for enterprise architect. But as you go deeper, yes, you need to have an understanding for that. I'll be coming back in the next class. Okay, so next today I'm just finishing early. I'll just open up for the 15 minutes question. You can ask me any questions. In the meantime, just I want to summarize what I did today. I have some problem in the system, in the screen sharing today. I don't know what's happened to this. I'm sorry for that. Okay. So coming back now, let me just walk you through exactly what I did today. See, one of the key thing, it's a journey, as I told you. I'm trying to just build the basic concepts for you. Once you get the concepts, you're there, nothing to worry at all. See, passing an exam is not the criteria for you. So nowadays, it's just how well you understand the concept is the most important thing. Okay, now coming back, let me see what I did today. I'll summarize. So what I did today is I went through the P phase. I went to the ADM phase. Exactly, I told you what task is done in each part of the phases. Like right from P, you're going to establish a practice. What's the objective of the P phase? You need to understand the capability of what is expected, plus what is the maturity of the enterprise, and how you need to put a reorg of the structure, what kind of framework the company is having, and why you're going to define the principles. I discussed about that. Then finally, I told the end result of the P phase is the EA practice set up. At the same time, okay, another thing I forgot to tell. So generally, what happens when you do the content, the tailoring of enterprise, you're going to see what kind of process need to be tailored, what kind of vocabulary need to be tailored. So you're going to come into that concept. I'll be explaining much more with an example next week, with a worked example what I have got. Then afterwards, when you come into the A phase, you're going to look at the vision. What is the vision a company need to achieve? Because P phase was initiated. Generally, companies don't start a year practice until they got some kind of a major kind of a company's reorg, or a new technology has come into play, especially like cloud kind of a thing. Or example, some kind of regulatory requirements they need to follow, or especially like COVID kind of a thing, which completely disrupted the business. So year practice started. So once they start, what they do is P phase generally not visited unless the company downsizes or company merges, or might be there's some kind of a major reorg in a company. Then only P phase is touched. Otherwise, P phase is done. Seldom it is touched. First thing. So once P phase is done, then the A phase will come into play. Now the question for you. Said that, I told you from the beginning, TOGAF is iterative and incremental. So how many times in the enterprise does the A phase will be revisited? Question for you, all of you. In a company, how many times do you revisit A phase? I want to see you're with me. I'm not. Am I getting any answers back? No, nobody's replying me anything. See, guys, in a company, P phase is done only one, like some major incidents. But A phase, any new initiative comes, A phase is triggered. Like a project, every time it kicks off, like a scrum, every time there is a sprint. Similarly, every time you want to start a new initiative, A phase will be started. Because A is the one which is going to give us a scope, what's need to be done. Suppose a company is having 4G now, they want to go for 5G. So that itself is a ADM cycle. See, what I want to get into the mindset now, before what was happening is you had a business initiative. So based on business initiative, a project was triggered. So afterwards, companies realized it's not possible to operate in this way. Then the companies started to build, might be a PMO office. So everything must be centralized. Then afterwards, now especially with digital transformation, they realized. So before enterprise architect was there in every company. But before, what was happening is the product life cycle, like an ERP system, was 10 to 20 years. Or when the company want to go for a major infrastructure upgrade, or companies went from standalone systems to virtualization. Yes, then a EA practitioner was called. He set up a practice, one or two architects, then they walk off. They're just something like a checklist. They do the work, they go off. But especially with everything a service model, with the project life cycle has come down from product life cycle, sorry, not project, product life cycle has come from years to months. Okay, how many of you have got CRM in your company? Customer relation management. How many of you are having a CRM in your company? I want this question answered. Do you know why the reason I'm asking you? Because when you had a product like a Salesforce, like a Siebel, it was taking you about roughly 2 to 3 years to implement a Siebel CRM, costing you like few $1,000,000. And especially with Salesforce, any company can able to have a Salesforce. It costs you, it's completely on the cloud, and it costs you like to start with, it is free, the evaluation version. At the same time, if you want to take a cost, the enterprise license will cost you only 3K or 4K. Or maybe, of course, the implementation go 50 to 100K is different, but at least to start with, low hanging. So the message, what I want to say is, companies have got EA, but EA was in the dormant. Moving forward, because of service model, so every time there's a new initiative comes, A phase is triggered. Again, A phase, depending on the type of the project, please remember here also, sometimes you want example, I was working for health. In the health, what happened is they triggered a project to replace the current existing system with a new system, that is the integration platform. When that was triggered, then ADM cycle was triggered just to analyze for that particular integration, because integration is a mega scale project. Okay, suppose a company nowadays, especially some of the countries in New South Wales, many company the government made a what they call a mandate. All the data centers, they need to lift and shift the existing data center to the government data center. So what happened? That itself is the ADM cycle triggered. You got me? You're coming to me? You're able to understand what I'm talking? Okay. So today what we discussed is P phase is set once. A phase is the one. As you can see here, we're going to come out with the aspirational vision of the capabilities and the business value. So aspiration of the vision might be the aspiration we want to have elastic infrastructure, can be one aspiration vision to move from the on-prem to cloud. Might be one of the aspiration can be we want to go for RPA, robotic process automation, where we want to reduce the human dependencies. That can be one more aspiration. That can trigger one more ADM cycle.